And one other thing which I've noted is that some people, most of us don't have the expertise to foresee or project certain eventualities, especially the ones which are not very common. They are common, but they're not common knowledge. For example, I've helped people, like in December, there is a gentleman I was helping out, and they're drawing out their 7-year plan, financial plan. And then, of course, we have to fit in the different annual plans 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 7 years. And while they're doing these plans, this gentleman had drawn up their plans. But then there are certain things which are lacking. So I sat down with him, and as a financial expert, I tried to show him the loopholes of things he had not planned for. For example, when you're planning, this gentleman had a loan, had a huge loan, which was going to be paid back in 5 years' time. But this gentleman's financial plan for the 7 years didn't include interest repayments. You get me? This gentleman had planned for paying back. It was a big loan, 1 billion loan actually. This gentleman had planned to pay back the 1 billion, but in each of the 5 years, he had included an amount of 200 millions to pay back the principal. But this loan had an interest rate of 15%.
15%.
Yeah. Per annum, an APR, and a percentage rate of 15%. So I had to sit down with him, and I told him that you have to budget also for this 15%. So he added the 15%.
Actually, that 15% times 5, that's about 75% of the principal was unaccounted for.
But then, an ordinary Ghana making a new resolution or a 5-year financial plan or 5-year resolution, 7-year resolution would not think of interest of the loan. Now, interest may be easy, but other bank charges, related charges in the first year,
loan processing,
mortgage fees, and all that, they don't think of that. The only thing, if someone is blessed to think of the interest, they don't think of this.
Mortgaging, and eventually mortgage withdrawal.
Withdrawal fees, yeah. So that's what happens. That actually, what I think is that even as we're making our New Year resolutions, or 5-year resolutions, or 7-year resolution, or 10-year resolution, we should consult friends or specialists who are more knowledgeable in finance to attach these special values to whatever you've resolved. You go resolve properly, then you attach the special values. And many times, as you're making the resolutions, when you sit down with this gentleman or lady, they're going to help you even scatter your resolutions. You may have a resolution for 2022, which actually sits better in 2025.
Having gone out the cash flow, I think there's a scenario I had. We're drawing out in my own cash flows, and I had a situation with Francis where I told me, man, this cannot happen this year. It's a very nice thing, but let's push it to 2024. Remember that?
Yeah, remember.
Let's push this to 2024. It's a very good thing, but this is, and because we have a software at B&G that we use for clients and manage their finances. So working with the software, I was looking at the screen, and it was like, you know what? This is the effect when this happens in 2022. You will struggle 2023, 2024, 2025. You resurrect in 2026. The effect of doing this in 2022 will get diluted out of the system, out of the financial system in 2027. However, if you push it to 2024, perfect. You won't even feel it.
Then leave around pushing forward. There is a big expenditure which we eliminated completely. There's an expenditure which we completely, there was an investment you're supposed to have made in 2022, and I said that cancel this out, because if you go ahead with this, it's going to disrupt your next 7 years by you going ahead with that one investment expenditure. Then I remember me advising you to make even a major sale.
Where I was thinking of developing that.
There's a product that's what I've invested in all the
Yes.
And I said just sell it. And after selling that, after getting the numbers right in selling that property instead of investing in it, further in it, we discovered that you had a very rosy 7 years after.
Very rosy 7 years after. But Francis, something interesting. I don't know. I think the other problem that we have is that it is just not practically possible that you will set the resolutions yourself. Okay, that you can do maybe, set the resolutions yourself. But then supervising yourself. First, you're talking about discipline. You guys, that thing is not easy. You see, when you're talking about discipline, it's so easy to nail other people as being indisciplined. You guys, discipline is not easy. Let's be human.
Sticking to what you said you would do,
Yes.
regardless
Yes,
of circumstances.
I had a quote that I wrote last year that discipline is doing what you said to yourself you will do. Then morals is doing what you told others you will do. Those are morals. Discipline is doing what you told yourself you will do. That sounds nice.
and you stick.
That sounds nice. Now let's get to reality. Let's get to March when reality sets in. You guys, discipline is not easy. Francis. Personally, with all the knowledge that I have, with all the ambition that I have, Francis, you know me, you manage my finances. Discipline is hard. You always, this is me. I always found that I had the right things that I wanted to achieve. I always failed out on the implementation. I needed a supervisor. I needed external pressure.
Actually,
I needed external limits, external guidance.
it's very human to be indisciplined. It's human.
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you.
It takes it takes a lot to be disciplined. You're just like someone. So sorry for throwing you in church in theology. A certain theologian was telling me that God finds it strange when we don't sin. It's very human to sin, to be indisciplined. That when we don't sin, God is also surprised. And so even in this realm of resolution and to do and not to do, it's very human. Trust me, that's a little indiscipline. So that's why you need that. You need help in supervising, in towing the line. You need someone to help someone reach into the line.
So are you saying, therefore, it is prudent that you find a supervisor?
Yeah. Yeah.
One
I have one,
Yeah.
and I would say it's one of the best decisions I've ever taken as a person. I'm happier when Francis is managing my finances. I'm
Stay
happy.
in the lane. Stay
Because
in
the
the
time I
lane.
want to make an expenditure, and Francis is like, no.
Stay in
Because
the lane.
I made it a point that Francis must okay my expenditures. I mean, okay, incomes, they will keep coming. But even when I want to get excited about investment, he told me, no, we're not investing this year. No, this we're not investing, we are selling off that asset. You know, there was a time along the year when I got hyper with asset activation. My biggest target for 2021 was asset accumulation. I wanted to get these big assets and what and what. Then along 2021, I was like, now it's time for asset activation. And Francis was like, boy, take it one step at a time. Not all assets you're going to activate. Yeah, some of them you'll activate a time bomb. Yeah? So I think that kind of guidance and supervision is also important. Because truth is, yes, I'm the master of my ambition, I'm the master of my targets and goals. But I think I also need that supervision. The discipline part, you guys, is not easy. It's actually easier when it's being imparted by someone else.
And there's one trick I've been about that discipline part. One thing I've done over the years, I think over 2 decades, which has helped me achieve my goals, which fit into my overall vision, is that however much I may touch the right numbers, the right items I want to achieve by this and that year, there are people I respect and whose opinion I value in different sectors of life, who are more knowledgeable than me in different areas of life. Some of them are even in the same field that I am in. So what I've been doing is that I tell people what I'm going to do. And many times, because I value my word, when I say out my word, when I tell my wife, when I tell my friend, my colleagues, when I tell Elijah, when I tell my different friends what I'm going to do, when I tell my family what I'm going to do, when I tell my kids that I'm going to do ABCD, I feel I have a date to do that. Yeah. So like, if I keep it to myself, I won't have the discipline and the push.
Yes.
But when I tell my wife that I'm going to do ABCD, if I tell my kid I'm going to do for you this and that, if I tell my mother, if I tell my friends, I'll end up having the discipline and the push to stick to it because I've already released it out there.
You'll have the morality.
Yeah.
It's easier to be moral than to be disciplined.
Yeah. If I keep it to myself,
Okay.
It's only me who knows it, and since no one else.
And that goes for discipline.
Yeah.
But when you tell others, it goes for morality.
Morality, yeah. So the morality end of it
Mm.
has helped me over the years.
Okay. And that pushes me to a very important trick, I think that also maybe other people can also adopt. The building or establishing a think tank.